I remember hearing a sermon illustration when I was a kid that went something like this. There's a stereotypically atheist public school teacher in a classroom telling her students about Yuri Gagarin, the Russian cosmonaut who was the first human in space, and how he supposedly said that he didn't see God while he was up there. And then there's this little girl in class, this brave little Christian girl, who raises her hand and says, "But the Bible says that only the pure in heart will see God. So maybe he just wasn't pure in heart." Mic drop moment, right? The atheist teacher is owned, the Christian kid wins, everybody claps. Except that's not really what the Bible says. And this kind of cutesy gotcha theology doesn't actually build faith. It just makes us a mockery to anyone who takes 5 seconds to think about it. Let's talk about why. Hey everyone, I'm Colin, the resident nerd and Bible scholar here at the Bible Uncut and Unfiltered. Let's start with the obvious for this case study. Matthew 5:8 is the verse in question, and it doesn't actually read that only the pure in heart will see God. In the start of the Beatitudes, Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." Notice he does not say only they will see God. He says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." It's kind of like if I said, "The lucky winners of the contest get to go to the concert tonight." Well, that doesn't mean that no one else goes to the concert, it just means that those lucky winners do. So this is not an only statement, it is just a statement particularly about these pure in heart people. It is not excluding anyone else. It's not trying to set up some sort of litmus test to judge who is pure enough to perceive God. There's another problem though. If we think about this for more than just a few seconds, does this really make sense? What if a Christian astronaut had gone into space? Would they have seen God? Like literally God floating around in orbit? We have had plenty of Christian astronauts. Buzz Aldrin took communion on the moon. John Glenn was a deeply religious person. But they didn't report seeing God hanging out in space either. Because God is not a physical being located in the sky or outer space that you could see with a telescope. The whole premise is absurd, and using this kind of sermon illustration to dunk on atheists just makes us look silly to anyone who takes a minute to think about it. So what does the statement pure in heart actually mean in Jesus' words in Matthew 5? And furthermore, what does it even mean to see God? Well, first I should mention that this is not about sexual purity or like not appreciating the occasional dirty joke or whatever puritanical checklist we want to impose. The Greek word katharos actually means clean, purified, refined. Jesus is talking about people who have been through the fires of life, the trials, the troubles, the difficult times in a life's journey. People who have faced hardship, suffering, disappointment, and yet refuse to become bitter, hardened, or cynical. In Hebrew thought, the heart, lave in Hebrew, I realize this is Greek text for Matthew, but Jesus would have been speaking Aramaic and drawing on Hebrew context. The heart was the mind, the center of thought, the decision-making. So this was not about trying to have better feelings or purer emotions. What Jesus was talking about was actually your mindset, your mental posture toward the world. And he's likely drawing on Psalm 24, 3-4. Shout out to Brandon Robbins for pointing this out, where that psalm reads, "Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? Those who have clean hands and pure hearts." It's about the approach, the posture, about how you engage with the world and with God. So seeing God here is not about a literal vision, some sort of perception of a deity in space. Rather, it is about perceiving God in your life, recognizing the sacred and the ordinary all around you, having eyes to see God at work in the world around you. When you maintain this purified mindset, when you refuse to let cynicism and bitterness cloud your vision, you start to see God in even the little things, in acts of kindness, in moments of beauty, in unexpected grace. Your perspective shifts, and suddenly you're seeing evidence of divine presence everywhere. This is honestly the opposite of the sermon illustration with this little girl. They use the verse as a weapon, as a way to dismiss someone else's experience and declare them impure because they didn't have the same religious beliefs that you did. It's used to create an us versus them binary where Christians have pure hearts and non-Christians don't, and therefore Christians get to perceive truth while no one else does. But That's not what Jesus is talking about in the Beatitudes at all. He is not creating exclusion categories. He is describing the kind of life posture that opens you up to experiencing God's presence. He is inviting people into a way of seeing, not saying about a purity test to gatekeep who's worthy. And here's the thing that really bothers me about illustrations like this. They teach us to see people who believe differently as enemies, instead of humans that we are supposed to engage with and respect. The atheist teacher in this story is a caricature, probably not how any real teacher would ever present historical information. Stuff like this just uses straw men and gotcha statements instead of genuine engagement. We are training children to think that clever comebacks are the same thing as theological depth, and they're not. We are teaching them that the goal is to win arguments rather than to understand truth and love each other. If you want to have a pure heart, if you want to see God, as Jesus said in Matthew 5, you don't get there by declaring other people to be less pure than you. You get there by doing the hard work of maintaining hope, compassion, and generosity of spirit, even when life gives you every reason to become bitter. You get there by refusing to reduce people to caricatures, by engaging respectfully with people who believe differently than you, by letting go of the need to win every little argument and instead pursuing actual understanding. Move past the gotchas. Move past treating faith like debate competition, because that's not what builds real, resilient faith. That's definitely not what makes you pure in heart. Sound off in the comments about some of the worst sermon illustrations you have ever heard, and how have your understanding of the verses related to them changed as you have studied more deeply. I'd love to talk about them and maybe even get ideas for future videos. See you in the comments.